Have you ever given your heart away to somebody who didn't deserve it? Maybe to somebody who didn't respect it and ended up stomping all over it? Did you learn any lessons from that? Hopefully, you took your heart back and protected it and kept it close until you found somebody who was worthy of giving your heart to. Hi, my name is K.A Bloch, and I am the award winning poet and author of 4 books that consist of poetry and prose. On my channel called The Practical Poet, I feature a weekly video poetry reading where I read one of the poems from one of my 4 books or even some new material. And I give a little bit of a backstory of as to how the poem came to be, kind of what are my thoughts, my motivation, why did I write it? And then I get into the video poetry reading. You can also find the written copy of the poem on my channel, again at thepracticalpoet.com/blog. So this week, the featured poem that I'm going to be talking about is one that I wrote when I was very, very young. I mean, we're talking maybe 17, 18, maybe my early 20s, but I think I was even younger. So I think I was still in my teens. And this is when I wish that I had date stamped my poems going back all those years ago. This poem made its way into my very first book called Walk Through a Field of Flowers. This was published in 2020, and this was a result of the COVID lockdown where, people were bored, we were looking for projects and stuff, and I came across a binder of my very young poems that I had written from childhood into early young adulthood. And then I added a couple of newer ones, but for the most part, it's really very early material. And that's where this poem first was initiated from, when I was very, very young, like I mentioned. And I don't write, even back then or even now, I don't write a lot of poems on the topic of love. I feel like that topic is pretty saturated, even though that I know I can give my own spin and my own voice to it. It's just not a topic that I'm terribly drawn to. So I'm not sure if that's going to change in the future or not. I'm not a super romantic person. So, I mean, I love to get flowers and I love to be wined and dined and stuff like that. But, I'm not like one of those people that, I hear people, I love love. I like love. Love is great. I enjoy it. It's perfect. It's a great thing to add into our world and our lives. But, I'm not a super like romantic or girly type person in that way. And speaking of that, I was, even growing up, never one that dreamt of my wedding. I kind of was drawn to the idea of a really pretty dress and getting all dressed up for the day. But I couldn't imagine being the center of attention and having everybody looking at me. And just, I just I never dreamed about a wedding. I never thought about it. I didn't really even like dream about a groom or anything like that. It just wasn't, it was just kind of in the back of my mind, like, yeah, it might happen. And that's great. And if it does, perfect. But if not, hey, my life is pretty good. And I'm just enjoying life and just rolling with the punches, and we'll see what happens. So, but even having those feelings of maybe not being like super into pursuing love, or not really one of those romantic people that's always out there looking for love. And my friends were always like, oh, I think I met the one, and then 2 days later they're broken up, and I'm kind of rolling my eyes. Even back then, I realized the value of protecting one's heart. And I realized the value of, we're probably going to come across somebody someday that's really worthy of our heart, and that we are like, hey, you're a really good person. I want to spend my life with you, or I want to, have a relationship with you. And I know that you're going to protect me, and you're going to protect my heart, and you're not going to do anything to hurt me. But that trust takes a while to build. It's not something that happens automatically. So I realized at a very young age, when I wrote this poem, the importance of protecting our heart and not just giving it away to anybody. And so I think at a very young age, that was a really important and valuable lesson for me to have, even as somebody who wasn't terribly like into thoughts of a wedding and a house full of children and stuff like that. I still, was aware of, the value of protecting my heart. and maybe saying to somebody like, hey, I'm gonna give you this heart, but I'm also watching you. I'm keeping an eye on you to make sure that you treat it with the respect that it deserves. So I'm proud of myself for having that awareness at such a young age, and not just kind of blundering into things where, you know, I get hurt time and time again. Now, has that happened? Yes, it absolutely has. I've given my heart away to people who didn't deserve it. I've gone in, you know, full force and thought like, hey, you know, this is going to be great, and then it doesn't work out, and my heart gets stomped on and broken like everybody's has, right? We're all human. We've all gone through that experience probably. But I do like the fact that I was aware and still am aware of and protecting our heart and keeping it close to us, while also maybe choosing to give it away, but still, you know, keeping that eye on somebody to make sure that they're treating it with the respect that it deserves. So this is a poem called This Heart I Give. And actually, this has two different versions. The first version is the original that I wrote when I was very young, and it has a little bit of a gloomier ending. So in 2020, when I first discovered my binder of poems and I was looking through this one of my best friends happened to be getting remarried, and she was having a wedding, a small wedding celebration in California, a COVID wedding, if you will, where most people were dialing in by video, but a few of us were able to attend the wedding. And I thought maybe I would read this poem at her wedding. And then as I kind of read the ending, I thought, well, this is a little bit gloom and doom. Like, I don't think I want to read this ending. So I did go through and I rewrote the last a couple of verses. I added on about 4 verses onto the poem to give it a more kind of positive ending. It ends up being a little bit more, instead of just the first version is just me, I'm protecting my heart. The second version has to do more with protecting each other's hearts. Like, hey, we're going to be a couple here. We're going to go through this life together. I've got your back. You've got my back. We're going to protect each other and love each other, and you know, always be on the lookout for have each other's best interest at heart. And isn't that a better way to begin a marriage? Don't you think? So I ended up rewriting that, and I never did get a chance to read it at the wedding. It just didn't pan out. But when I gave her the book finally in publication in early 2020, and I did let her know that I did rewrite this ending so that it was a little bit more positive. And I have had a couple people that have asked for my permission to read it at their wedding. So that just, you know, is the best gift ever, to think that somebody is reading my words on one of the most important days of their life. I really can't ask for anything more than that. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the reading of. I'm not going to read both versions in full. I will read the first version in full, and then I'll just read the last couple of add-on verses for the second version. Both of these can be found on my blog at thepracticalpoet.com/blog. And again, this is under the title of This Heart I Give. And I'm going to go ahead and take a quick sip of tea, soothe my voice. I've been talking a lot this weekend, so that helps. Actually, that was so good. I'm going to have another sip. It's cold and damp out today, so that tea feels really good on my throat. So again, this is the poem called This Heart I Give, from my very first book of my early poems, from when I was a child into early adulthood. And this is the original version of This Heart I Give. It's a part of me. It's in my soul. Through the years, I felt it grow. I hold it deep inside of me. I've never let it go. But now there's you, my chosen one. I'm giving you my heart. It holds the contents of my life. It's quite a work of art. Take my heart and cherish it and hold it oh so tight. It's precious and it's fragile, and it must be treated right. It's like a rose that's in full bloom when given proper care. It's a gift I give with love to you. It's infinitely rare. But like that rose that fades away if treated with neglect, you'll find my heart will wither too if not treated with respect. I vow to love and honor you when I agree to take your name, to treat you daily with respect. From you, I ask the same. So keep in mind throughout your life, each day we both shall live, the vow to honor and respect comes with this heart I give. And if by chance someday you find this vow you must deny, my heart, like the neglected rose, will wither up and die. So that was the original version. Again, a little bit of a gloomier ending with somebody's heart withering up and dying. Good Lord. I was very young. So this next version actually takes up with the verse. So keep in mind, throughout your life, each day we both shall live. The vow to honor and respect comes with this heart I give. But love is not a one-way street. So I shall do my part to also treat you with respect as I protect your heart. And in this crazy world of ours, love can get pushed aside. Let's make a vow to not allow our feelings to subside. And if that starts to happen, let's right now make a pact to not only have each other's heart, but also each other's back. As we start on this new journey, never more apart, please know that when you take my hand, you also take my heart. So please know this from this day on, each day we both shall live. The joy of spending life with you comes with this heart I give. So I guess it was actually about 6 more verses that I added on to that poem, to the original. But again, going back to protecting each other's hearts. I mean, if you're going to be a partner and you're going to have a partnership together, you have to have each other's backs and you have to protect each other. And that even goes to, you know, if you hear somebody saying something about your partner that isn't true, and you have to defend them and stick up for them. And, you know, that's having their back. And then just making sure that you're always true and honest in the relationship, and that's going to protect their heart as well, and they're going to hopefully do the same for you. And if they're not, you know, maybe they're not the right person. So I've said it a couple of times, but I'm proud of myself for having that perspective at such a young age. And did I always follow my own advice? No, I didn't. I wish I did, but you know, we're all human, and you know, the heart may need to be protected, but it also wants what it wants. And sometimes, you know, we foolishly allow the heart to have what it wants when we know better, and we know that we shouldn't. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video poetry reading of both versions of This Heart I Give. And again, both of them can be found on my blog at thepracticalpoet.com/blog. And they can also be found in my first book of very young poems called Walk Through a Field of Flowers. That can be located on my blog under the books tab, available at the book retailers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other book retailers out there. So if you like what you hear and you want to be notified of when I do my weekly poetry reading, please make sure to click the like and subscribe button, and I will make sure to notify you each week when a new video drops, typically toward the end of the week. And with that, I thank you so much for listening to this weekly poetry reading, and go protect that heart. Make sure that everybody's treating you with the love and respect that you deserve. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll chat real soon. Bye.